Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? I pray that everyone is having a blessed day. And we are still in Genesis today. Um, I woke up dizzy this morning, so bear with me if I might have to end this shorter than the 30-minute allot time that I have designated this to be. So bear with me. If I pronounce some of these words wrong, um, I'm just not up to par right now. Like I said, I woke up dizzy. So let's jump right in and start reading the Bible. And we are on chapter 29 in Genesis. Then Jacob went on his journey and came into the land of the people of the east. And he looked, and behold, a well in the field, and lo, there was 3 flocks of sheep laying by it. For out of that well they watered flocks, and a great stone was upon the well's mouth. And thither were all the flocks gathered, and they rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in its place. And Jacob said unto them, My brethren, whence be ye? And they said, Of Haran are we. And he said unto them, Know ye Laban the son of Nahor? And they said, We know him. And he said unto them, Is he well? And they said, He is well. And behold, Rachel his daughter cometh with the sheep. And he said, Lo, it is yet high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together. Water ye the sheep, and go and feed them. And they said, We cannot until all the flocks be gathered together, till they rolled the stone from the well's mouth. Then we water the sheep. Good morning, Gail. And while he yet spake with him, Rachel came with her father's sheep, where she kept them. And it came to pass, when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Jacob went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel, and lifted up his voice, and wept. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother, and that he was Rebekah's son, and she ran and told her father. And it came to pass, when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him, and embraced him, and kissed him, and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. And Laban said to him, Surely thou art my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him at the space of a month. And Laban said unto Jacob, Because thou art my brother, shouldst thou therefore serve me for naught? Tell me, what shall thy wages be? And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Jacob loved Rachel, and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel thy younger daughter. And Laban said, It is better that I give her to thee than I should give her to another man. Abide with me. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days, for the love he had to her. And Jacob said unto Laban, Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. And Laban, together all the men of the place, made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah his daughter, and brought her to him. And he went, sorry about that, and he went unto her, and Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah his maid for a handmaid. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, What is thou hast done unto me? Did not I serve thee with thee for Rachel? Wherefore then hast thou beguiled me? And Laban said, It must not be so done in our country, to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for the service which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years. And Jacob did so, and fulfilled her week, and he gave him Rachel his daughter to wife also. And Laban gave to Rachel his daughter Bilhah his handmaid to be her maid. And he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 other years. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben. For she said, Surely the Lord hath looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me. And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, Because the Lord hath heard that I was hated, he hath therefore given me his son, this son also. And she called his name Simon. And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, Now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi. And she conceived again and bare a son, and she said, Now will I praise the Lord. Therefore she called the name Judah, and left barren. I imagine that Jacob was very upset the way, you know, that he married Leah first, but he really didn't know it until the next morning. I would say I would be kind of upset, but read on. Chapter 30. And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said unto Jacob, Give me children, or else I die. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and said, Am I in God's stead, who hath withheld from thee the fruit of the womb? And she said, Behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. Excuse me. And she gave him Bilhah her handmaid to wife, and Jacob went in unto her. And Bilhah conceived and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God hath judged me, and hath also heard my voice, and had given me a son. Therefore called she is his name Dan. And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bare Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, With great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had left barren, she took Zilpah her maid, and gave her Jacob to wife. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a son, and Leah said, A troop cometh, and she called his name Gad. And Gillah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a second son, and Leah said, Happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest, and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, Give me, I pray thee, thy son's mandrakes. And she said unto her, Is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband? And wouldst thou take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, Therefore he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him, and said, Thou must come in unto me, for surely I have hired thee with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night, and called and God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob the 5th son. And Leah said, God hath given me thy hire, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his son Ishgar. And Leah conceived again, and bare Jacob the 6th son. And Leah said, God hath endued me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And afterward she bare a daughter, and called her name Dinah. And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her, and opened her womb. And she conceived and bare a son, and said, God hath taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, and said, The Lord shall add to me another son. And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob had said unto Laban, Send me away, that I may go unto my own place and to my country. Good morning, Jan. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, and let me go, for thou knowest my service which I have done thee. And Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thy eyes, tarry, for I have learned by experience that the Lord hath blessed me for thy sake. And he said, Appoint me thy wages, and I will give it. And he said upon him, Thou knowest how I have served thee, and how thy cattle was with me. For it was little which thou hast before I come, and it is now increased unto multitude, and the Lord hath blessed thee since my coming. And now when shall I provide for my own house also? And he said, What shall I give thee? And Jacob said, Thou shalt not give me anything if thou wilt do this thing for me. I will again feed and keep thy flock. I will pass through all the flock today, and removing the hence all the speckled and the spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and of such shall be my hire. So shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come, when it shall come for my hire before thy face, every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the sheep, and shall be counted stolen with me. And Laban said, Behold, I would it might be according to thy word. And he remembered that day, and the he goats that were ring staked, and the spotted, and all the she goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them unto the hands of his sons. And he set 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flock. And Jacob took him rods of green poplar, of the hazel and chestnut trees, and peeled white stakes in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had peeled before the flocks in the gutters in the watering troughs, when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle, ring staked, speckled, and spotted. And Joseph did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flock toward the ring staked, and all the brown in the flocks of Laban. And he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not in unto Laban's cattle. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. And when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in, so the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maid servants, and men servants, and camels, and asses. So he gave Jacob was taking all the good ones, instead of, Laban got all the bad ones, the weak ones. And he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob hath taken away all that was our father's, and all that which was our father's hath he gotten all the glory. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not towards him as before. And the Lord said unto Jacob, Return unto the land of thy fathers, and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flock, and said unto him, I see your father's countenance, that is not towards me as before. But the God of my father have been with me, and ye know that with all my power I have served your father. Give your father hath deceived me, and changed my wages 10 times. But God suffered him not to hurt me. If he said, Thus the speckled shall be thy wages, then all the cattle bear speckle. And if he said, Thus the ringstaked be thy hire, then bear all the cattle ringstake. Thus God hath taken away the cattle of your father, and given them to me. And it came to pass at the time that the cattle conceived, that I lifted up my eyes, and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the cattle were ringstaked, speckled, and gristled. I understand it completely, Gail. I was that way earlier. I'm getting some caffeine in me with my Pepsi, so it's still a little bit foggy. I go around with a fog all the time anyway. Verse 11. And the angel of God spake unto me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here I am. And he said, Lift up now thy eyes, and see all the rams which leaped upon the cattle are ring-staked, speckled, and grislet. For I have seen all that Laban doeth unto thee. And I am God of Bethel, where thou anointest the pillar, and where thou vowest a vow unto me. And now arise, get thee out from this land, and return unto the land of thy kindred. And Rachel and Leah answered and said unto him, Is there yet any portion or inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not counted of him strangers? For he has sold us, and hath quite devoured also our money. For all the riches which God hath taken from our father, that is ours and our children's. Now then, whatsoever God hath said unto thee, do. And then Jacob rose up and set his sons and his wives upon camels. And he carried away all his cattle and all his goods which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting, which he had gotten in Panaram, for to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. And Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the images that were her father's. And Jacob stole away unawares to Laban the Syrian, in that he told them not that he fled. So he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river and set his face toward the Mount Gilead. And it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob was fled. And he took his brethren with him, and he pursued after him 7 days' journey, and they overtook him in Mount Gilead. And God came to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night, and said unto him, Take heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mount, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the mount of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, What hast thou done that thou hast stolen away unawares to me, and carried away my daughters as captive, taken with the sword? Wherefore didst thou flee away secretly, and steal away from me? And did thou tell me that I might have sent thee away with mirth, and with songs, and tabret, and harp? And hast not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughters. Thou hast now done foolishly in so doing. It is in the power of my hand to do you hurt, but the God of your fathers spake unto me yesternight, saying, Take thou heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. And now though thou wouldst needs to be gone, because thou sore longest after thy father's house, yet wherefore hast thou stolen my gods? And Jacob answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid, for I said, Peradventure thou wouldst take by force thy daughters from me, and with whomsoever thou findest thy gods, and let him not live, before our brethren discern that what is not thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that the Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and to the two maidservants' tents, but he found them not. Then he went out of Leah's tent and entered into Rachel's. Yep, I feel you, Gail. That is going on with me. Last night I had 249. This morning, 246. I hate it when they do that. I really, really do. Now Rachel had taken the images and put them in the camel's furniture, and sat upon them. And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not. And she said to her father, Let it not displease my lord, that I cannot rise up before thee, for the custom of women is upon me. And he searched and found not the images. And Jacob was wroth and showed with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, What is my trespass? What is my sin, that thou hast so hotly pursued after me? Whereas thou hast searched all my stuff, what hast thou found of all the household stuff? Set it here before my brethren and thy brethren, and that they may judge between us both. This 20 years have I been with thee. Thy ewes and thy she goats should have not cast their young, and the rams of thy flock have I not eaten. That which was torn of beasts I brought not unto thee. I bear the loss of it, and my hand didst thou require it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was in the day of the drought, consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from my eyes. Thus have I been 20 years in thy house. I served thee 14 years for thy 2 daughters, and 6 years for thy cattle, and thou hast changed my wages 10 times. Except the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac have been with me. Surely thou hast sent me away now empty. God hath seen my affliction and the labor of my hands. Rebuke thee yesternight. And Laban answered, said unto Jacob, These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and these cattle are my cattle, and all that are seas is mine. What can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto children which are they were born, have born? Now therefore come thou, let us make a covenant, I and thou, let it be for a witness between me and thee. And Jacob took a stone and set it up for a pillar. And Jacob said unto his brethren, Gather stones. And they took stones and made a heap, and they did eat there upon the heap. And Laban called Jagar-jashtutha, but Jacob called it Gilead. And Laban said, This heap is a witness between me and thee this day. Therefore was the name of it called Gilead. And Mizpah, for he said, The Lord watch between me and thee, and when we are absent one from another, if thou shalt afflict my daughters, for if thou shalt take other wives beside my daughters, no man is with us. See, God is witness between me and thee. And Laban said to Jacob, Behold this heap, and behold this pillar, which I have cast between me and thee. This heap be witness, and this pillar be witness, that I will not pass upon this heap to thee, that thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm. The God of Abraham and the God of Nar and the God of their father judge between us. And Jacob sware by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mound, and called his brethren to eat bread. And they did eat bread, and tarried all night in the mound. And early in the morning Laban rose up, kissed his sons and his daughters, and blessed them. And Laban departed and returned to his place. And we are on chapter 32, and after 32, I will stop for the day. And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, This is God's host. And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Israel, his brother, unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, Thou shalt speak unto my lord Israel. Thy servant Jacob said thus, I have sojourned with Laban, and stayed there until now. And I have oxen and asses, flocks and men servants, and women servants, and I have sent to tell my lord that I may find grace in thy sight. And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, We came to thy brother Israel, and also cometh to meet thee, and 400 men with him. And then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks and herds and the camels into 2 bands, and said, If Israel come to the one company and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape. And Jacob said, O God, my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, the Lord which says unto me, Return to thy country and to thy kindred, and I will deal with thee. I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies of all the truth which thou hast shown unto thy servant for my staff. I passed over this Jordan, and now I am become 2 bands. Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Israel, for I fear him, lest he will come and smite me and the mother with the children. And thou sayest, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. And he lodged there that same night, and took of that which came to his hand a present for Israel his brother, 200 she goats, and 20 he goats, 200 ewes, and 20 rams, 30 mulched camels with their coats, 40 kine, and 10 bulls, 20 she asses, and 10 foals. And he delivered them into the hand of his servant, every drove by themselves, and said unto his servants, Pass over between me, and put a space between drove and drove. And he commanded the foremost, saying, When Ezra my brother meet thee, and ask thee, saying, Whose art thou, and whither goest thou? Whose are these before thee? And then thou shalt say, They be thy servant Jacob's. It is a present sent unto my lord Israel, and behold, also he is behind us. And so commanded he second and third, and all that follow the drove, saying, On this manner shall ye speak unto Ezra when ye find him. And say ye moreover, Behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us, for he said, I will appease him with the present that goes before me, and afterward I will see his face, peradventure he will accept me. So went the present over before him, and himself lodged that night in the company. And he rose up that night, and took his 2 wives, and his 2 women servants, and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them, and sent them over the brook, and sent over that he had. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until breaking of the day. And when he saw that he had prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint, as he wrestled with him. And he said, Let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, What is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince that hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed. And Jacob asked him, And tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, Wherefore is it that thou askest after my name? And he blessed me there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. And he rose, and he passed over the Peniel. The sun arose upon him, and he held it upon his thigh. Therefore the children of Israel eat not of the sinner which shrunk, which is upon the hollow of the thigh unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh in sinew that shrunk. So I am going to stop right there on chapter 33, and we will probably read chapter 33 tomorrow, and Wednesday is always out of this book. And the next chapter in this book is I was working on a little bit Sunday, and I got very what do I want to say, irritated a little bit, and I had to put it down. So I'm going to try to finish it today, and we will work on that. Um, Welcome in, Queen Bee, Crochet and Knit. I appreciate you being here. So with every time I read the Bible or do the Bible study, I like to end with a prayer. And Queen Bee, I'm only doing this for about 30 minutes. I'm trying to do it every day. Usually about this time between 9 and 10:30. Tomorrow's will be a little bit later because I gotta go do something. And we'll be busy in the morning. So I'm going to let's bow our heads, and unless you're driving or doing something very construction where you can't, please don't bow your heads. Anyway, so dear Lord, I pray for all those that are sick with this illness that is going around. I pray for all those that are in the hospital right now. I pray for all those that have cancer, and I pray for all those that have lost loved ones. I beg of you to wrap your arms your angels' arms and your arms around all those that I just before mentioned. And I pray for our country, our president, and I pray for the world, and I pray that the evil is out. We do not want the evil to set in. Amen. So I will leave it at that. So I shall see y'all later, and